Hopefully, you're having a good start to the week. Let me clear off the screen. You're having a good start to the week so far. It's a new trading week. And if you've been in this community, I've been basically trying to, as the best of my ability, with declining viewership nonetheless, because I talked about the bearish drop that was coming. And it's not because I want to make people mad. It's not because I'm trying to dishearten the XRP community. But when I can see it clear as day that we have to make a move, and then we can decide whether or not we want to push up and out, it's irrelevant whether I want that to happen or not. We talked about this pull right back down to which area? This exact area. I mean, it's the way it was set up. We talked yesterday in the technicals, and this was up here. I was showing Julie how it hit it identical onto that little trend. But we were talking yesterday how I wish that there was 400 and 500 people in here before these kind of drops happen, while we're in the bearish moments, instead of everybody coming in after the rally starts. These are the most profitable times in crypto because you can watch these drops if you stay ahead of them. And remember the daily, what we were worried about just a week ago, how overbought it was in the stochastic? It was such an obvious alignment there that we were going down, regardless of the fake out after the rate cut, which I said was going to happen. We could go up to as high as 318, and then we were coming right back through. No volume. Stochastic is massively overbought, getting worse by the day. Now we find a spot where we've had this pull up, and now the obvious concern this morning would be this. Is in the immediate action now, you're going to get a lot of people buy in. Everybody sees it came down and tapped here. Now we worry about one thing. We come up for this quick rise, and let's see where it would end up being, because we're going to get this quick rally up here. Monday morning, there is no doubt about it. As the USA wakes up, and it's going slow on TradingView, so bear with it. There's no doubt we're going to come up into these higher zones. Man, is it taking forever to load. Come on, TradingView. I want to see something real quick. But welcome in, everybody. But there's going to be this artificial, and we're going to get into the mining stocks. We're going to get into gold and silver, because that's been the obvious can't miss move since January, especially the mining stocks. As to where crypto, you could have faded it the last 6 months, as we've been talking about. You wanted to fade crypto and rotate in to the mining stocks and into silver, particularly if you're buying a precious metal. You know, that's why you wanted to fade crypto, as I preached back in January, to get into the moment that we're starting to get into now for crypto. Now you're starting to look at it again. It may not be the exact time, but now you're starting to look at it in a different kind of way. So am I, because we came down to this first support area. But now the obvious problem is we're going to get this push back up. We should come back up. And if we can overtake, and it's going to be, this is how it's going to play out. So just get your notepads out. This uptrend, this is what we talked about yesterday, that if you weren't here, because a lot of people were saying how strong the 298 was, and I said, yes, it is strong, because that's the area that you would hold it the longest and have buyers buy in the psychological zone just before you had a catastrophic liquidation. And we talked about it yesterday in the live, hours before this actually played out. And they think about it, they're buying that zone, immediately find themselves down 10%. So now you start to look at it, and everybody is going to ask me, Tom, what would you do right now? I wouldn't do anything. First of all, we need to come up and get past this uptrend that now sits at, and I'll show you how it looks in the wider scope, $2.87. And then it's still a problem. If you get above there, we're still in a no-man situation now. Notice how we came and filled this entire zone out. So there was some confluency here. It wasn't just, hey, we have an uptrend down here, or we have an uptrend down here, that if we break, you know, we have no reason to think where we're going to go next. Absolutely not. That's not the case. We had it perfectly played out in more than one scenario. This comes down here, right? But then when you open it up to the other side, it falls right back within the consolidation. This is normal. Nothing changed. Yes, you can look at it on all three of my charts as it makes sense, all three steps. But the bottom line is right here. It all comes back to this. We had an artificial breakout. And yes, we could use it from a, hey, we might have broke out if we looked at it like this and still knew the uptrend at 287. Or, hey, it might still be on the back test if we look at it like this, which is all true. Isn't it ironic that it's all true? It's just different microcosms of the same pattern. But look how it put us in the right position to succeed here. Even if it is on the outside back testing, great, because if it holds this, we simply go back to now here. And now it's like, well, if we get past here now at 287, we simply go back to here where the pattern is inside of it, and then it starts to go like this. Ready? We get above 287. Now we need to get above 290. Well, let's go into the right time. 295. Wait a minute. What did we just see that's at 295? Right? We talked about it. The death cross here is right in that area. So, actually, I went way too far out here because it's still only Monday. So let's just say we come back up here and have this pull up. But it puts you right. I mean, these charts don't lie. In fact, I think the charts dictate the news. Isn't it funny that today we're going to have this big announcement, supposedly? For Bitcoin, there was supposed to be an announcement. The announcement I'm interested in having, my son who's autistic, is the fact that supposedly Trump's coming out to have the biggest announcement ever in health, like in the USA, when it comes to autism. Is this a good or bad thing? I don't know. But I'm eager to hear it, seeing that my son has special needs. He's nonverbal, and he faces a lot of challenges. So I'm interested to see what this is. But at the same time, we're also hearing about this thing about Bitcoin. And, there's just a lot of things going on here. And you had an opportunity at $2.68. There was an opportunity. And I told everybody I would not buy at $2.98. I would not buy at $3.15. But you look at the support structures and you make a decision. At the very least, you buy support, sell resistance until the pattern breaks out or breaks, down. And out or down. So, that's why I'm passionate about this. That's why I like to do this every single day. That's why I have different charts, because they all mean the same thing in a slightly different way. And you'll start to notice people use different charts to fit their agenda. I don't fit any agenda. I just want to have the right motive here. I just want to know what's going to happen. My agenda is not to lose all my fucking money. How about that? That's my only agenda. I don't want to lose my money. Period. So now I got to look at it 18 different ways from Sunday so that I make sure that there's no possible way that they manipulate this pattern to what I don't see. I need to see it all. If I don't see it all, I see nothing. You understand that? If you don't see anything, you see everything. Because you're looking. You have the wandering eye. If you don't see anything, you're looking for anything and everything, so you see it all, even if you see nothing. If you think you see it all within this pattern, you see nothing. Because I could simply say, well, if you evolve it this way, we're still within it. But if you go to this side, we're over the top and back testing. But if you go to this one, we fell under the uptrend. But I would also say, now that I'm using this purely as the uptrend and only the uptrend, look if you came through for support. Isn't that ironic? And now it's created the inside wedge we talk about. The inside out wedge, what'll win out. But I'm also starting to see something that I really am starting to think we need to pay attention to as well. If you evolve this, we're starting to create something like this as well. So we need to make damn sure that we're not coming to a resistance and a back test for a further breakdown from a pattern that fell outside of this. So there's a lot of optics here. But it feels damn good to be able to continue to sit here and not beat my chest and say, oh my God, look how good we... No, not... It feels good to sit here and watch the pattern play out and know that I've got a chance and we've got a chance and we've all got a chance to play this properly because we're not getting caught up in the nonsense. I don't care if everybody else said we're going to break out to X, Y, and Z after the rate cuts. Like I said before, and I'll say it again, they can't read a chart. The chart said otherwise. If we would have got the dump I talked about like just now, then yeah, we could have pumped. But unfortunately, when you don't have the dump that's built in, you got to dump. I don't care how high it goes. And now we cleared liquidity, a lot of it. But understand, like we've got the pattern that takes shape is right here. Nope, not here. Right here. This is the pattern that firmly takes shape until you break out of here now. Yes. It's not the micro version that you can look at. But this is the microcosm of being stuck in here now, right? But what I would say is the most immediate problem is right here on the uptrend. Is at $2.80. Well, the pattern first at 289. You know, but below that slightly, we've already back tested this. So, you know, if we break down from here, that's how you have this push back down farther. But we haven't done that. All we've done is back tested this. In that regard. It just, you got to pay attention to this every step of the way. Like it's not a cut and dry. Are we going to go up? Or are we going to go down? Are we bullish? Are we bearish? There's a lot to it. Remember with the copy trade? I'm not doing IOTA because I feel like it's got to come down. And sure as shit, it came right to the 1463. Perfectly. Now, did I buy yet? No. One, because only 3 people are signed up. And 2, because I want to see if this is going to end up being a classic case of coming back up and then having to melt down. Because oftentimes you'll see a meltdown back to the exhaustion wick if you don't have a volatile spike in volume after that exhaustion wick happens. And since we didn't have a massive spike in volume for IOTA or anything, as a matter of fact, it feels more like to me we're going to come up here in the 4-hourly and then we're just going to melt probably back down. I hate saying that, but I mean, that's what it feels like, but who knows? Because right now, IOTA's first step, it's right at it. That 1720 is the first step. So if you're watching IOTA, this is the first step for IOTA for the first layer rejection. If it comes back above here, because this is where it wicked down and came back up and around, this would be the first area you're looking to see if you can push past. Then you can start breaking it down into a little smaller time frames. But it fell out so fast that, I mean, if it doesn't come back above this area, actually, you could go a little bit higher. I would go a little bit higher. 1760. I was going to say that's why it doesn't make sense. I felt like it was higher than 1719. So right here, you got to come back across here because then you'll try to take out this exhaustion wick. And that's where I think we're trying to come back up because when we came back through, we've never back tested that. So that makes sense to me. So look for a push back up to 1761. Ironically, that's right at the 20-day and the hourly. Let's see where it's at in the 2-hourly. 2-hourly is a little bit higher. 30-minute, I mean, it's on point right now. So we'll see what this market has to offer. But, you know, a lot of people don't come in smiling on drops. Or some people come in smiling too much on pumps. As long as it's following the pattern that we see, oh, I'm happy as hell. I'm happy as hell. And I even only said it dropped 12% and tapped 281 because the wick was the 269. But what we were dealing, or what was it, 260, what was the ultimate wick to? 269. But what we're dealing with this morning, I kind of take away that until we start. So, but let me go say hi to some of you. Let me do the intro. And if you want to join the copy trading, make sure you look in the video description or the comments here where it says WEEX. It shows WEEX by XDC IOTA XRP, which is true. You can do all of that. And then if you click on that, it'll have a link there. And then you go to the copy trade. Before we buy IOTA, search TSpeaker222 and copy trade once link clicked upon sign up. So sign up to WEEX with the link so you're connected to my account. Go, and even if you don't, you can try to copy trade, but I think it has it to where you have to click through my link just for safety reasons. But search TSpeaker222 in the copy trade. And once I buy IOTA, you'll be a part of it. Like, Could I have bought it at 14? I very well could have. But I didn't do anything yet as far as all of that goes. I didn't do anything with all of that. I'm monitoring the situation because there is still a chance we come much farther. So I want to make sure we do what we got to do here. Ethereum came all the way back down, fell back within the channel for a brief second. And what I'm still worried about with Ethereum, and here, let me take this out real quick and go to the weekly and daily. Daily's definitely cleaned itself up here a lot, which is great to see. Great to see. The weekly still is fucked. It's what I've been talking about this entire time. This weekly time frame, even worse than the daily, was overbought. And the daily's one thing to be overbought. But when the weekly's overbought like this and you're putting in a double top, you're fucked. And not long term, but there's nothing wrong with saying, okay, we've come up so fast, so quickly without back testing, we got to go back. And my biggest problem is Ethereum broke out of a 4.5-year pattern, roughly 4 years plus, and it never back tested in a big way. So we got to come back to 35.11 as trying to tell us. And that's been the problem. Yes, there's minute levels in between that I've put up here every step of the way where it could go. But the bottom line is we know when you don't back test, you generally come back, and we haven't had the hard back test. It's not our fault. It's not our fault the stochastic is way overbought. It's not our fault there's no volume. Not our fault there was only a quarter basis point rate cut. What did I say before the rate cut? If it's 1/4 of a basis point, get ready to duck and fucking cover. Because that's super bearish, at least immediately, for crypto. Yes, we might have this artificial pump, which is exactly what happened, but then it's just going to drop the hammer. And now we got to see, because that weekly is still horrendous for Ethereum. It's horrible. You don't want to see that. I would love to see this finish out now and have a very super volatile week and just drop the, at least in the next couple weeks. And we also know September is the most bearish month of crypto. Everybody who tries to argue it every single year, this is my 4th year doing this in September. I've heard the same rhetoric every year. This is different. It's not going to be as red. We've got all this stuff going on, adoption, integration, and blah, 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 blah. It's like, the only narrative that matters is what the chart says. I don't really care about all the rest. The charts are telling us soon we're going to have a bigger rate cut. Soon we're going to have massive quantitative easing. Soon we're going to go even more into a hyperinflation. But not today. We've got to wait. I've been saying my optics mid-November into Q1 or 2 of 26 should be the biggest stretch of bullishness. I've never changed from that. You know, but it's hard to push sometimes because, you know, a lot of people leave. I got a lot of people that unsubscribed, you know, in the last few weeks too, but a lot of new subscribers that outweigh it. But I miss some of the older ones that I made a good relationship with that got mad. You know, it's that simple. I also miss people that I've gotten to know that get mad. So, and the other thing that's a little interesting is I'll say this and I'll show the evidence for an hour, hour and a half here every single day. Then I'll go into the Telegram and I'll have 17 people talking about why it's going to do something else. And it's like, I respect everybody's opinion. I do. But at what point do you put a little bit of credence into what I'm saying and be like, well, why is he saying this? Or I think I have the track record now to where it's like, if he's saying it, I've got to at least listen to it. He's not a financial advisor. And I know this is for entertainment, but maybe I should put a little bit of thought into what he's saying. And the fact that he can do this time and time again, have multiple charts that have righteous meaning, and then ultimately just look at it and see how it played down with support if you look at it like that. Or how it's actually an uptrend in the making, and until it breaks, you know, we wouldn't have to worry. And then when it breaks, you have the back test of what could be the outside of this pattern, depending on how you look at it in different time frames. You know, I like the blood. You know, but we also need to make sure that it's over. 4 hours is massively oversold now for XRP, which is what you like to see. Daily, coming into oversold, which is what you like to see. The weekly leaves a little bit to be desired. It looks like it could be going for rejection. And I only say that because when you look at the bounce back volume, I mean, come on. This is making a loaf of bread and getting it back doughy. The outside looks good, and you're like, well, what's going on here? There's no Or you have what looks like a baked loaf of bread, and when you cut it open, it's just the crust. There's no inside. That's how this chart looks. After this bounce, there's no integrity to it. This is great. What happens once we come back up and retest the 4 hourly? You know, it doesn't look great. I need some fucking volume. Can we get some volume? Please? Like, if we get some positive volume, this would be the right circumstance for a nice push. And if you're watching, make sure to hit that like button. Only 57% of you have hit the like button so far out of 105 people. It's a miracle we even have 105 people in here. And the only reason we do is because a lot of people are joining today because they're like, well, fuck, I didn't want to watch the last few days, but now it happened, so now I have no choice. And I get that. So make sure you hit the like button and do me some solitude. I like solitude and grace. I like the pay it forward mentality. Even if that's just hitting the like button, that's paying it forward. It helps me reach a wider audience that might actually pay it forward by donating to my channel, or signing up to Tom's Army, or joining us in the Telegram, or pushing this into another community, enlightening somebody else who might come in and not know what's going on. That's a part of giving back. That's a part of paying forward, is simply being in the comments and somebody asking a question and not giving them a hard time. Because remember, we might be on day 1,000 together, or 1,200, or 1,500, or whatever the hell it is. Somebody might be on day 1. Give them grace. Good morning, Crazy Pole. And Craig Carlson, thank you so much for being in Tom's Army for 6+ months with the XP Predictor, along with Amanda. Darren, welcome in. Alex Coates and Mike B, thanks for being in Tom's Army for your 2nd month with Dusty Dotto's Crypto News. RC Kruger, welcome in. I've also seen a very dangerous trend, even in this community. We're liking to buy high on the dips, but not buying the actual dip. And what I mean by that is it'll go up to $3.30, and we're buying at $3 and $2.90, saying, hey, I bought the dip, but not buying the actual dip. Don't fall victim to the, I'm buying the dip, but it's only dropping, and this is not really a dip. It's only a dip because we've gone up 10x and it's dropped. That's not a dip. You're still buying a 10x move. Period. So stop. Stop it. Stop doing that. Same thing I told my audience in 21. Stop it. You start doing that, you're going to lose all your money. You can't do that. Stop doing that. English guy living in Thailand. Nice. I heard somewhere, it might have been somewhere by Thailand actually, that made it crypto gains exempt from taxes for 5 years starting on this year coming up. Or the current year, I believe. RC Kruger, welcome in. It's me, Fidel, welcome. Jay Freemix, welcome in. Eddie, Ben, good morning. Let's see. Bob Burtner, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge. Along with Wales, Josie Wales. Good morning, friends. Papa Wheelie and Crypto Cooter, along with Tango and Joseph Euler. Thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 6 months with the XP Predictor. And Crypto Cooter, thanks for being in Tom's Army, not only for 6 months, but also a very trusted mod in here and in the Telegram. Mr. G. Stott, welcome in and good morning. Hope you're having a blessed day, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for 2nd month with Dusty Dotto's Crypto News. Florida Attorney, good morning. Yes, there is a chance we could dip below $2, but we would have to drop below this formation that you see right here, or drop out of that $2.68 area. Then you would have a chance. Right now, we don't know. We're going to go back up, and what I would presume, first area should be right around 288, second area around 295 to see what's going to happen here. So we should get a little bit of a bullish push here now, but we'll see if it's ready to go through. Hopefully it is. But I've seen no volume to solidify this move back up that's going to have any semblance so far. Cape Cod Kyle, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge out there in the great area of Massachusetts. The great state. Robert Latham, good morning. Bob Burtner, thank you not only for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge, but also a $20 super chat. What a beautiful soul you are, Bob. Thank you so much for that generosity. Man, it always makes me feel good to get that pay it forward moment. Knowing that you're spending your hard-earned money on what I'm doing, that is the #1 guide to let you know you're doing right. And I do this all for free. I don't charge for any of my content. But having the members of Tom's Army paying it forward, and yada, 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 so on and so forth, and YouTube Super Chat. It's just a blessing. It really is. It allows me to do this the way that it needs to be done. Big Dog, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 3 months with the XRP Meteor. Good morning to you, he says, to Tom. And back to you, my friend. And also, he says, morning to the Army, watching from the beginning, which I encourage everybody to do. Lonzo, good morning. Dylan Epitox, good morning as well. Ronald Grump, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for your first month with the emoji badge and me being abducted by aliens. Obvious liquidation event. Happy to be past most of it. Not so fast, my friend. I'm not so sure we are past it for the most part. But I hope we are. The main indicator here is Ethereum in the weekly is still overbought. That's massive. So, as much as I want this to be over, it's as much as I don't see any volume. So, if we don't get any volume, we're coming down to 3,500 and some change. Let me just put it this way. If we don't get any volume, Ethereum is destined for another $700 drop. After it figures out all its bullshit from where it's at right now, it would be destined for another 16.4% drop. The biggest insult I see today is I seen people come out 11, 12, 13 hours ago showing their buys, telling people to buy, telling them this is the drop, you need to buy, we're going parabolic, just to come out now and saying, see, I told you we were dropping. I came out 6 hours ago and said for you guys to sell. It's like, the hell you did? And where your fairy tale land? Like, that's that inconsiderate, ingenuous bullshit that always goes on YouTube and in social media. It's like, oh, I told you it was going to. No, okay. That's why you've been telling me to buy the last 6 fucking months as it's been dropping, asshole. And told me not to buy, for the last 2 years before last November when it was cheap, dirt cheap. But here you are. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for being a dick. Let's see. But I digress because I don't want to go down that road. We want to be positive. Other people's transgressions, they'll pay for it in one way or the other. And you know what the biggest sin in the Bible is? One of the biggest sins, believe it or not, is taking advantage of the poor or less fortunate. Let that sink in. One of the biggest sins you can commit, according to our Lord and Savior, is taking advantage of the poor, and let's just say the unknowing, or the ones without the resource. Not just poor, but maybe they just don't. Just taking advantage of somebody who's less fortunate or less understanding is a big no-no. It's the number one sin. Just because you can do it doesn't mean you do it. Just think about that. Just because you can do it doesn't mean you do it. That's why I say blood money. Just because you can make it doesn't mean you do it. You want to prosper. You don't want to take away from the very people you're claiming to help. It's a no-no. And it's a pet peeve of mine. But anyhow, 4,185 is a sound support we need to hold for Ethereum. If we do, right now, it would speak to the fact that if we can hold this and we start to break up a little bit, we're going to have to retest this area, about 4,400, which brings 4,430 into play. But just understand, that's the resistance over the top, but it's going to come up and probably meet somewhere around 4,380, 4,430, somewhere in that range. So, I'm sorry, did I hit a nerve to some of you by saying that about our Lord and how you shouldn't take advantage of people? 20 people left because I said that. That's good. 20% of this audience wasn't meant to be here. Don't forget to give thanks to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, Yahweh, Yeshua, God Himself, God Almighty, our higher power. Garbanzo, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for your second month with the Dusty's Outhouse Crypto News. Along with Dan Marginal, I appreciate you both. With Bearded Viking as well. And Bearded Viking said, just wanted to stop in and say hello to everyone. And Tom, thank you for all you continue doing for the community. Sorry I've been missing in action, dealing with some stuff. You already know. Absolutely. No worries, my friend. We continue to pray for you. And the health of, your little ones and also your entire family mentally. I'm not going to go into your business, but we definitely understand. But I'm glad you checked in, my friend. I really am. Lori Watson, good morning. It's still on the dipper side, believe it or not. A lot of times we melt back down, so we'll see if that's the case again. Let's see. Lonzo, we are a lot more green than previous cycles. In what book? What's more green? XRP, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. Maybe a couple others like Chainlink. But for the other majority of the ISO and IoT, on what planet are we higher up? For Christ's sake, guys. And no, I'm not saying you're wrong, Lonzo, and I'm not yelling at you. But honestly, let's think about this honestly. Ethereum's not even at where it was at in 21. Even now, after this big move up. Right? IOTA was plus $2. It's at 17 cents. Algo was plus $2. It's at 21 cents. XLM was at like 80. It's at what? 36. H-bar is a little different. VeChain was almost 30. It's at 2.3. XDC's in half. XRP's faring very well, just like Bitcoin. But the majority are getting slaughtered. They're getting picked up and kicked in the nuts and dropped right back down. You know how many people with Epic kept telling me, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. It's the buy, it's the buy. And I said, no, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. Wait for $1.64 at least to see if it comes close. And honestly, it should have been like this when you look at the other wick. Because if we were pulling wicks, it should have been like that. So that's my mistake. It didn't quite hit it, but it should have been a little higher. My bad. Should have been around $1.67, $1.68. It's like, I don't really care when people tell me I'm wrong. I know what I'm looking at. I'm not an idiot. I've been doing this a long time, not just in crypto. The more people that tell me the wrong, the more I know I'm on the right path, honestly. So this pattern broke out. We never backtested it. Whether or not it did it within this entirety is irrelevant to me. Once it breaks this down, it should still backtest, no matter how high it goes. Unless we get a break out of that area, which we didn't. So it's like, it's patience. I don't mind being patient. Because everybody who bought here to ride it up here that said it's going to infinity is going to ride it all the way down here with me anyhow. They're just going to be down 50% or 40% or 30% or 70%. I know damn well a lot of people in this very community went against what I was saying and bought it up here because they said that it's never going to go back to where I said. I mean, and I like it because it's all teachable. And you need to make mistakes. You know how many times I did the same thing? 100 times out of billion times in different assets. Even in crypto at times. That's what taught me. Taught me every time I see it go up, just understand. If you didn't buy it before that up, you're waiting for that down for a reason. Waiting for the down. And we matched this so perfectly with that inverse pattern saying we should just buy it here for the break up and then we can decide when it hits the resistance. But what did I do? I just said, nope. I'm going to ignore it because I'm watching other things. And then I even had to pull like, hey, I should buy it now. And then it's like, no, you're not buying it right now. You just waited. You're not buying shit. In fact, you got to wait now. Because if we draw this out, even if it survived this pattern somehow, some way, and you wanted to do it like that, which I wouldn't, it's got a long ways to go here. It really does. But I love it. Isn't this fun? Staying out of the way of liquidations is like making $1 billion in crypto. Only 1% of the people can stay out of the way religiously. I'm being honest. Probably 1% or less can stay out of the way of these drops. Or know not to buy until the drops or know what to do. So now it's like, Tom, it went to $1.68. Where are you buying? I prefer to still buy it when it back tests, so I'm not. But the next time I think you should get the pull, if you could buy it at $1.68, if you've seen it drop down, there's one. Or now you put yourself in a position, you gotta wait for it to come back over, back test that so you can make the move up to here and ride that at least. But honestly, you're in a dick position. You're in no man's land again in this. Me personally, I want to see this back test. I'll wait as long as it takes, unless I have to wait too long and then it breaks out and it's just I'm done. That's fine. I've come to the realization on a lot of things that if I miss it, I miss it. It's fine. There's other things. Not quite like this real world asset. Remember XLR? After all that stuff happened, it's like I'm waiting. I didn't buy it just because it went back to 34. I'm just waiting. Once all that stuff happened on BitUnix and all the stuff, it's like, well, I gotta wait. And then 26 cents. Or 20 cents. Or we don't know if it breaks down even farther. Like I said, I don't know. Like I said in 21, I was pretty sure in 23 even. The crypto was way too expensive. It was way too expensive. I didn't hold any bones about. Yes, I knew Silver Corp was ready to have a 10% plus move ready. I knew it. I talked about it on Friday. Fucking knew it. Anyhow, let's change gears from bearish crypto for a second and talk about the most deceptive, the most, well, basically no one likes to talk about it. Gold's up $33, in need for another consolidation at some point. There's no doubt about it. But as you know, it still hasn't come up to the 4,115, and until it does, got a lot of room to run over the top. And even when it does, oh, the next targets are going to be fun once we get there. Barrett Gold up 3.8%, up to $34.25. In the last 3 months, let's see. It's beautiful. Just beautiful. 3 months, it's up 10%. But that doesn't even tell the story, because with B2 Gold, or Barrett Gold, we bought it right here. On the drop, on the inverse head, bought more on the shoulder, bought more on the weird dip that came down to like $18, bought more when it came to 20. So, I mean, you're talking about a massive move from fucking 15, 16, 18. We were buying it at 15 not too long ago. It was the rotational flip. I keep talking about it. In January, when I told my audience, and I did a video, it's titled like that. I doubt I can find it now. XRP Future Millionaire. Why I sold 75% of my crypto and flipped to mining stocks. The hell if they're gonna come to my content. Right here. Come to my content. Look at this. 8 months ago. And that was in December, I believe. No, what are we in? No, that's 8 months ago. 8 months ago, that's January. XRP. Why I sold 75% of my crypto and turned focus to gold and silver. I thought it said mining stocks on there too, but inside of there I'd be talking about mining stocks, because that was my focus. And we talked about it for so long. And it was the perfect time to flip from crypto. It was perfect. It was the bottom. It was the bottom. 8 months ago was the bottom of the mining stocks, silver, gold. I mean, we had such a parabolic move from there now. But that's when I did it. And now I'm looking for the re-entry on some. Others, the ladder down has started. But it's all about where they're at. But the majority, I have so much liquid capital still because of this that I'm waiting. I'm waiting to buy my 40,000 IOTA. I'm waiting to buy other things. I'm waiting to do certain other structural things. But look at the movement we've had since that 8 months ago. And I did not hold any bones, and I got ripped. 113% on Barrett since then. And I said this is the silent, it's going to be the silent bull market that no one's going to pay attention to. B2 Gold back in January. $2.30 freaking cents. I remember making these buys, and I made it all the way up. It's up 100% from then. You know, even gold from January, for fuck's sake. Look at this. You can't make this shit up, though, how much it's come up from that. It's like, don't just base what I do on crypto. I mean, I told my audience to buy it here. That's when the uptrend started, and I said, this is where we're buying it. Buy it the whole... And once it got to 2,000, I said after a couple of years, I'm done. Because I've been buying it since 2017, and I hit my plan, and that was when I told myself, when gold got to 2,000 and finally broke it, and silver got above 22, 23, 24, and it was about 26 was the final where I would buy it. I said, I'm done, and that's when I need to focus on mining stocks. I mean, look where these were. Look where gold was at. It was at 2,600 in January for fuck's. Gold's up 44%, 43% since then. And you can't turn back time. We can't turn it back. People ask me, is it the time to buy now? I still think these are dirt cheap, but they're not as cheap as in January. Silver was still at, in January, $28. It was the cheapest you were going to get, except for this one pullback that happened in June for a second. And now it's up 50%. But it's the miners that are stealing the show. It's the miners that are stealing the show. Pan America Silver, I'll never forget that acquisition they had last year. I'll never forget it. And it dropped down, and it was just begging for us to buy it last year. And then this year, when it had that pull down to $18 on that acquisition, I'll never forget it. I said, guys, this is unbelievable. This is way too cheap. And I bought it again when it dropped here. I even bought it again when it dropped to $20.50 and $22.50. So from this point here, though, from that January, I mean, that's the point in January when I made that, hey, you got to buy it, buy it, buy it. Please buy the shit. No one's buying it. Buy it, please. I don't know what you're waiting for. Just buy it. These are up 100%. They're up legitimately 100%. Nobody really likes when I talk about it, but today's the day. I have to talk about it today. You know, it's the point. And now for crypto, you're going to see the same thing happen soon. Once everybody starts to rush into the miners, it won't be too late yet. Don't get me wrong, it won't be too late yet. Like for First Majestic, this was one of the easiest buys I've ever had in my mining career. In my career of mining stocks. They had a merger and acquisition late last year. It back tested during that. And then in January, it even came back down here, and I pounded the fist. Then it did it again unceremoniously in May and June, where it came back down to 550 and Fortuna was like 515, 525. And it's like, are we kidding right now? Are we kidding ourselves? And even from there, it's up 125%. And they're paying dividends. Small one for First Majestic. Small one for Pan America. Did we even talk about B2 Gold? Up 4.38%. Yeah, we did. But now it's up to almost $4.70. I remember saying I can't wait till it's at $5. It will be soon. Hecla Mining is the star of the show. But we got to go to Fortuna first. At that same time, with First Majestic back in May and June, came down to 525, and then a little earlier in April came a little farther. But here it was 530 when First Majestic came down to 550. This is up 55%, and I think it's lagging a little bit, and it's still at 55. Hecla, the single largest silver producer in the USA. And I remember when I drew out the 1094 and said, we're going to be up there very quickly because earnings were spectacular and the price hadn't met earnings. And I remember it kept dipping, and it came all the way down here in May. And it's like, what is it doing down here at 475 on this overzealous back test? And we were buying here. Majority with the audience was right around here, here, and even when it came to 590, I bought more. From this back test here, unbelievable. From January, this is when we first started. Hecla was a little later, so we got a better deal, but I started talking about miners in January again. 118%. This is what I mean, can't miss. These are can't miss. Then I said, if you guys have missed, and I remember Mrs. G. Stott, Miss Stott asked me, Tom, if you didn't buy any yet, what would you buy? And I pointed to a few, but I said, Silvercorp Mining is my baby that I'm so proud that I was able to buy it so late. And I remember it was like in May. I hadn't bought any until May. And then it got to August. And this is where I was like, I'm buying it because I finally have the ability. I know some of you remember, it was only at 350. And I said, guys, I didn't buy it way down here. But I got through my miners, and she asked me in end of August, I believe. In August at some point. June maybe. Maybe it was July. It might have been July, but we were talking about it in June. Because I hadn't bought it. Because April, yeah, it was June. And then there was also another chance in September that happened. But when I started preaching, it was back in June. Only 2 months now. And that's when I started buying at 350. I remember Miss G. Stott asked, I think it was end of July, early August, right around $4. And I said, listen, if I hadn't bought any, I would probably buy this. It's mimicking Fortuna Silver Mines. It's extremely undervalued. And it had a big breakdown. And it hadn't made the breakout. And now and if you would have bought it in January when we started talking about the miners, I mean, this has gone nicely. But I don't like to look at it from there. I like to look at it from where my purchases average. So I'd say about 370. I think it's 379 on my JP Morgan is my average. So that's 52%. That was a late buy. That was once we got through our miners. And then the last buy, if I was able to get through the list, was Dolly Varden. That's the most speculative. They're making money now. And they're massively, in my opinion, undervalued. But once I got through the list and I was able to get here, I dropped 1,000 shares here as well. And this was ironically, I bought my first shares before Silver Corp. But it was supposed to be the last one through the run. But I decided to buy the first 500 of this first because of the price. And then after I bought the 1,000 of Silver Corp, I came back and bought the rest back in early August, I believe it was, at 330 roughly, 330, 340. So I'm right around 280, 290 on an average. Somewhere around here would be the average, 296. That's a little bit high, but anyhow, from 293, it's at 57%. But these were the two latest ones that you could have jumped on board that were a little bit behind. I still think we got a long ways to go because silver is not even close to being, I mean, I'm just saying, it's not even getting done. Not even close. Yeah, Garbanzo, I'm still praying that you are getting better and that foot injury is healing. I'm glad you're able to watch and do this as well. And just, you know, be able to vibe with us and do what we got to do. But if you're looking to just get into precious metals, gold, silver preferably with the 85-to-1 gold ratio still, which is unbelievable. I would encourage you, I mean, yes, there's going to be hardy pullbacks at time. But pay attention to the miners. I still think they're significantly undervalued. Obviously, they're up 100% in most cases. So they're 1x. But I think we're looking for many more X's than just one. But, you know, that is to be determined. Algo. Absolutely have an update on Algo. I'm just waiting for the pattern to follow through. It's still coming through. And as some of you know, I sold off not all of my algo for the preparation for IOTA, but I went from 50 to 30,000 a couple weeks ago, and I have it sitting in WEEX. So I have the ability to buy a good amount of algo. Right out the gate, I've got like, it was 3,400, but after I decided to downsize the 30,000 algo, just because I want to have more IOTA. I'd prefer to have more IOTA than algo. I love algo, but I have a lot more of a vision with IOTA. But I don't think I'd go below 30,000 algo, but I'm not sure. I have to make that debate up while it's still deciding this back test breakdown. Because if I only want 20,000 algo and I want to go even deeper in IOTA, I would have to make that sale while it's around that 22 cent or 21 cent area or above. So that's where we're at right now. But yeah, I love algo. I don't think I could go below 30,000. I know for a fact I would never go below 20, but I don't think I could go below 30 in good faith. Just in good conscience, I don't think physically I could go below 30,000. I just want to make sure I stayed at 30,000. Remember, we were buying algo at 9 cents, so sold it at 60, and this was a case where I bought it back in the consolidation after the big drop at 15 and 17 and just have let it been riding. I think I bought 10,000 more somewhere over here, so I just sold it after to go back to IOTA. I did, as a matter of fact, once that bit Unix stuff happened, but that's gone now. But I'd like to have the 30,000, I think, and I'll just stick it out. And if it comes down here, then I could consider buying more. But that's why this was so important. From 9 or 11, 12, wherever you bought it, it was a little cheaper earlier. But selling it up here in January, remember, switching the miners and then being able to reacquire down here as well. So, I mean, it was a gutsy move that paid massively in dividends. Like, you can't go back in time. That's the thing. Like, it's in the moment. You know, it's in the moment. And the worst part of those moments are I lose a lot of subscribers when it happens. They all come back and then I get newer ones, but I miss some of the old ones that were here during the prior run. Like, here's the hardest thing to stomach for me. Having to say goodbye to some of you that I've been in doing this with before the rally happened and you had the vision, and now you're only leaving because, you know, you're sad. You know, you're sad because, you know, things may not have, I may be talking about things that you don't want to hear. But at the end of the day, I have our best interests at heart. I really do. Because this is, and some people are like, what's your evidence? I'm like, my evidence is I'm here every day and not going to a 9 to 5, right? It's my evidence that I'm doing something right. And this is before I started YouTube. And if you want to know the truth, on YouTube, I average $2,200 a month. So YouTube is not keeping me home. I get vastly underpaid on YouTube because I don't take sponsorships and I don't do any paywalls and things like that where most people make their money. My money comes particularly not from ads because I don't even turn them on during the live. My money particularly comes from the members of Tom's Army and the YouTube Super Chats. And it's dropping. We were up to 265 members of Tom's Army. Now we're down to like 247, which is still tremendous. But we've definitely had a significant fall off, and that sucks to see. But it's understandable. A lot of people decided to take their stuff and go away because they don't like what I'm preaching. They'll come back eventually, but by then it's going to be too late. Not because I'm not going to welcome them back, but because they're going to miss the whole point of what I was preaching. Does that make sense? I think it makes sense. Trying to make sense. I really am trying to make sense. And that's also why, like some people say, cash is king when you're looking to buy something later, but also having it in spot is the key. When you copy me on future trading, if you want to do IOTA with me, remember two things. One, I do the futures in 1x, so it's just like spot trading. You just have to do it through leverage for copy trading. There's no work around it as of now. Two, if you're copy trading me, your money never leaves your account. It sits into the futures copy trade account, and when I make a trade, it has to be allocated for that, and then it automatically makes the trade. But if you're being spammed to send it to another exchange, that's not how copy trading works. You're being scammed. If it's not on WEEX and through my link, you're being scammed. If you're not copying T-Speak at 222, you're being scammed. It's simple. So be smart, be precise, be careful. And I would love to see you a part of the journey with me. I really would. I love it. I love all of my friends that are part of my journey. There's no greater gift than having more than just us. But yeah, that's what I see with Algo. Right now it's fighting. It's fighting to not get rejected here. I don't know if it's going to win this battle, if I'm being honest. But it's definitely fighting. But yeah, I have 30,000 Algo. That's a fact. I have 30,000 Algo. I looked just now. So, and I have $5,500 ready to go into, at this moment right now, to go into IOTA. So well over 30,000. But if it plays out properly, that money can it can do some damage. And it's going to at some point. I'm telling you. If you just follow along with Alga or IOTA, for whatever reason, if it doesn't let you copy trade, which it says it's in the copy trading pair, but let's just say for some reason it doesn't let you. Actually, let me try it real quick. I'm just gonna close it out immediately, but I want to see if it actually will let it open IOTA. So I want to go to trade, copy. I'll do like $10. All elite trade. So I want to go to Elite Trade, IOTA. We want to switch it to 1x. Confirm. We have it on isolated. We'll do $10 just to see if it works. $10. For $10, let's make it spicy. We'll do $10 at 10x. Just to see how it works. So I want to see how the fees work, percentage-wise, compared to a 10x to a 1x. Open long, $9 gets you 90 cents. It says that we have opened, but the elite trade did not open IOTA. That is very interesting that it did not open it for IOTA. That was my suspicion, that there was something wrong. Nope, it did not open IOTA. That is a kick in the dick. Ooh. Yeah, that sucks. That really sucks. We'll try it like this. Yeah, that's disappointing. That's disappointing is all I can say. So, I don't know why it's not opening IOTA for the group. Because it opened it separate by itself. So let me go to copy trade and see what's going on here and see. Because it's got a list of what I can use. I apologize. I'm just trying to figure this out for everybody. And yeah, as you know, it's coming to the end of this live unless we have other things to talk about, which we very might well have more to talk about. But I've got to see what's going on with this. So for copy trade, got it. Let's see the trades that are available. I want to see, because I know Bitcoin works, but that doesn't do us any good. So let's go through here and see what they have. So they've got Ethereum, Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, Doge, Ethereum Classic, Filecoin, Uni, Link, Solana, ADA, DOT, TRX, XRP, BNB, Near, OP, SU, API, Comp, Maker, TRB, Wild, 1000, blah, 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 XLM, AVA, ICP, AAB, ADAM, APT, INJ, Band, TIAAXS, Monera, Arbitron, YFF, Quant, Sushi, yada, 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 People, FX, GRT, Mana, Sand, FXS, EOS, Rose, HBAR, Woo, SIL, People, STX, ORD, CRV, 1000 Float, LPT, Python, Sheep, Theta. Swear to God, if it actually doesn't have IOTA on here now, because we're in the USA. Look at all these it has. If they really skip through IOTA, it's a fucking tragedy. Go, XDC. They don't have IOTA on here. I was on the list before I hit, because of my IP probably. I don't see IOTA on this list with all those freaking tokens. I don't see IOTA on this list. That is unbelievable. Wow. That is trash. Craig says, as long as you're making videos, I'm in the Army, you changed my life financially, went from no knowledge to literate, taught me to fish. That's the goal. That's the goal. I want everybody to be able to fish. It's the biggest goal of all. Good job, Lori. Good job. The most undervalued mining stock right now? I don't know. It's a loaded question. You know what? Fuck it. Fuck it. If we can't do IOTA together, we're gonna do XDC together. Fuck it. I'm gonna sell out, send it over here and sell out of my XDC, and we're going to buy that together. I've got over 100,000 XDC, and I'll buy it back at the exact moment. We'll just do that together. Let me see if this works. That's just as important to me as, well, almost as important as IOTA. So let's see if it lets me first trade $10, 20x, just to see, because that's how it was set up. $100 minimum. Oh. Interesting. I like that. And we'll go to 1x. Oh, good. It worked for the elite trade too for XDC. Look at that. That's fucking awesome. Okay, so that'll lose 24 cents, 22, because it opened up. So let's see if I close it, what the fee is. I just wanted to see if it worked. Now people are going to be like, what the fuck? I open it and you close it right away. You dick. So yeah, we can at least do it through XDC. So I'm absolutely going to send that there. So we'll do XDC. We're going to do XDC. I'll just sell out of it. It's up a tiny bit since I bought it, nothing major. But then I'll just rebuy it with the anybody who wants to copy it. So I'll make the change to the audience. And then I'll just have my IOTA and XDC on WEEX for the time being until, you know, if they get rid of the USA, obviously, something would have to change. And then the other stuff I have, I'll eventually just keep it on KRAKEN, aside from CRO. So let's see, the history. Cost me 50 cents, that trade. I'm okay with that, how it worked out. Okay, so at least now we know. I know what I need to do for the audience. What would be cool is to see if I can deposit XDC on here. Because then I could just sell it on here. So deposit. So deposit an asset on chain. This would help other people too. Yeah, you can't deposit XDC. I didn't really think you could. Now I'm gonna have to pay like, well, it shouldn't be much because I have the 0 trading fees for so long. But I'm gonna do this for the audience. I have to. This is where we're gonna go together. We're gonna fly high with XDC. I can already tell. Yeah, anyhow, I appreciate everybody watching. I do appreciate everybody. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not from New York, so I have no idea. I wish I did. Estimated trading fee, 200.54 XDC. I wonder what that comes out to, like 14 bucks. So I'm losing 200 XDC, which, you know, is what it is. But yeah, I'm going to trade that with the audience since, once again, for some reason, IOTA it continues to elude the USA and what we can do with it. So other than that, I'll do the IOTA and XDC on WEEX. Unless something were to happen on WEEX, which as of right now, the USA is perfectly golden there. It's a great avenue for us to be on. It helps us replace, if you just want to be honest, it helps us replace bit Unix. Not that we wanted to, but we have no choice. But yeah, so it's an alternative. I'm XRP Future Millionaire. I still want to do, I want to do this token with everybody. I want to do XDC. I'll buy IOTA on my own, as it turns out, which I'm not happy about. But I want to do XDC with everybody. So I've already sold that, paid the 200 XDC. I was still up a little bit, so that's not going to be the end of the world. But I hate giving back to the exchange. But for the good of what I want to do, I'm okay with it. And so if you want to buy IOTA with me, I buy a lot of IOTA. I'm gonna have a lot of IOTA. I'll have over 100,000, no question. So anything else? Anything else from anybody? I got this all set up. I'm very happy now because now I'll have XDC. Yeah, it's just going to be a beautiful thing. It's going to be a beautiful thing. And I hope you guys look forward to the journey. I do. I hope you look forward to the journey. Because it gets a little tedious. Can we all agree that this ends up being a little tedious, and if you don't really know what's going on, it becomes super tedious? So the best thing we can do is just know what we're doing. I know it sounds so simple. And it is. But it doesn't seem to always work out that way. You know, it seems to end up being a lot harder when you're actually trying to do it. So the best thing I can do is try to give you the information every day. I just wanted to make sure that all my stuff was set up how I wanted. It is. And now I just wanted to make sure I got validation. So I'm good to go now. Everything works on my end. It shows it working. So if you want to do the XDC with me, you know how to do it. Would I do something over above? Probably not, because that's going to be like $8,000 now that I'm going to be putting towards that. And the group would have access to being a part of that trade if they want. I'm not necessarily going to talk about it a lot in here, but I just wanted to talk about it today because it's in real time when we figured this out, which is important. You know, it's very important to figure this stuff out before the day comes. That's why I try to do this stuff. But I'm happy. I'm happy all of you were here with me on the journey. I'm happy that all of you are helping out. And I'm happy that all of you are staying committed. I4J. Here we go. All set. So, there, I've got us set up now. And we're going to make some noise. We'll make some noise. And if you're asking me, when are you looking at XDC, it's simple. I might be looking at it sooner rather than later because it's already back tested. I wouldn't have sold this out unless I was switching it into the copy trade. So yeah, I would say sooner rather than later if you're paying attention. From a daily perspective, we're still kind of on the downslope. We have that bearish cross, so I'm not in an immediate hurry, and I'm not even afraid to buy it a little bit higher if I had to. Obviously, I'm paying close attention, but we'll see what happens here when it comes to these rejection points. Because we're close right now. We're at the 200-day and the 2-hourly. We have an exhaustion of the downside, so it's possible that we come back and retest that, which is more than possible. But yeah, so we'll pay close attention to this. Be blessed, everybody. Remember the first area, 288, or 289, I mean, for XRP. And then ultimately, if it wants to come back up, it was like 298. Yeah, 298 we have to get over to invalidate this structure.